So you've taken a huge step and you've started your own contracting business, or you're about to start one. Either way, congratulations, because I know from experience that that's such an exciting moment in your life. You're taking a huge risk to have more time freedom, have more financial freedom, and overall just better your life for yourself and for your family. And I know it's a huge step and it's a little nerve-wracking, so this video is gonna help a ton. Today, I want to share with you my 5 biggest mistakes that I made when starting my own business back in 2018. And I also want to share my 5 biggest things that I wouldn't change if I had to do it all over again. So that way you guys can have a better experience when starting your business. You can lessen your mistakes and you can make sure to copy some of the things that allowed for my own personal success in your own business as well. That way you don't have as rocky of a start and you don't lose money like I did for the first 2 years in my business, and you can hit the ground running. If you don't know me, my name is Tyler Link. I have a concrete company and a landscape company, and between the two of them, I do a little over $4 million of revenue every single year. And I also have an internet business where I help other contractors with their marketing, with knowing their numbers, etc. If you're interested in that, check the link in my bio and I have more info on how to get in touch with me. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. All right, the very first thing, and I'm gonna start off with a mistake, is not charging enough money for your work. When I first started, I thought it was gonna be a really good thing to go to customers and try to provide them with a great product, but also be one of the cheapest in the market. Also, when I was first starting, I had a lot of issues when it came to my own financial security, because I would look at certain projects, and if I was gonna charge $10,000 for a concrete driveway, for instance, to me, I thought that that was a lot of money to me. And what I didn't realize is it doesn't matter how much money I thought it was, because my customer has a whole different frame of mind, and a lot of them were way more financially successful than I was, and so I was freaking myself out way too much with money. But what ended up happening is I thought that I was doing my customers a service by being cheap. So I was like, hey, I'll give you the same exact product, but I'm gonna charge you a little bit less money. And I thought, well, if I do that, one, everyone's gonna buy from me, and I'm gonna be able to have an awesome business, because what I thought is I was gonna be able to make a lot of money off of that. But fast forward, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, that led to a ton of issues down the road, like not having enough profit margins to hire out a team. If the project ever went wrong, or we had things like equipment breakdowns, etc., I never had enough money in the bank. So not charging enough / giving away things for free, like if a customer wanted a little change order, I would just throw it on because I was trying to provide great customer service. So the intention was good, and I see a lot of people fall into this, but it hurt me a ton down the road. And the number one thing that I would keep when I started is my grit and determination. So a lot of business owners, they potentially have been working in the trades for a very long time, and they have a little bit of an ego when they start their own business. They're like, oh, I'm the best plumber, I'm the best electrician, I'm the best concrete guy, I'm the best landscaper. And it's good to be confident. But the problem is, if you're too confident, you have too much of an ego, then you're not gonna be willing to do what it takes. And when I first started my business, I almost had no ego, I had no confidence, and I was willing to do whatever it took. And for instance, like if we ever got slow on work, I was not afraid to get out there and go door knocking. A lot of people are super uncomfortable with that, and they're like, oh, I'm above that, I'm not gonna do that type of thing. Or maybe they didn't wanna join networking groups, or maybe you don't wanna cold call other contractors and try to partner with them and their services. So one, you could offer more to your customer, but also you can get referrals from their business. Whatever the case may be, just know when you're first starting, you really should not have the mindset that you are too good for anything, and you should be willing to do literally whatever it takes to succeed. So that's one of the things that I think that I did that was we're able to grow a $4 million business in under 5 years, is because I was just never too afraid or too scared or too good to do anything. Whatever the business needed, whether I needed to go try to steal my competitors' employees, or I needed to go door knocking, I would do whatever it took. All right, moving on to our second mistake here is no good contract. So in the very beginning, I trusted people a lot. I was like, well, if I go out and meet with someone, I shake their hand, we're on the same page. I thought that no matter what, nothing really bad can happen. So I still had a contract, but it was really, really sparse. Like there wasn't very many things. Like I didn't have a lot of terms and conditions. Like for instance, if I am in a bid on a concrete driveway and I'm tearing it out and all of a sudden I hit a sprinkler line where it's buried where it's not supposed to be, is that my responsibility or is that the customer's responsibility? Or for instance, if you are digging and you hit an electrical line and it wasn't supposed to be there, it wasn't marked, is that your responsibility or the customer's? When does your customer have to pay you by? Is it today, the day that you send the invoice? Or is it in 30 days? Is it net 30? What are your rules? What if your customer doesn't pay you on time? Are you gonna have a late fee? There's so many things that I did not have outlined in my contract. And the problem is, because I didn't have it outlined, it actually caused a lot more fights than what I thought it would save. Because I was like, my opinion when I first started is like, well, if I send a contract And it's actually like really easy. Then my customers are gonna love that because they're gonna say, oh, Tyler's a straight shooter. We have nothing to worry about. But the issue is because problems always arise. I want you guys to remember that. No matter how perfect you are, there are going to be things that are said wrong, are done wrong. The customer is going to misunderstand you. You're going to misunderstand the customer. We're human, right? We're not AI. We're not computers. We make tons of mistakes. And so having a contract that details out everything that you're going to do and everything that you are not going to do will save you, and it will also increase your customer experience because they'll know exactly what they're getting themselves into. The second thing that I would keep is I was really good about marketing when I first started my business. And I came from a little bit of a different background than most people. I actually worked at a digital marketing agency. So I had a background in marketing. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're able to succeed for so long and keep our growth rate at the rate that we were going. Because a lot of contractors, they go in and they have this mindset for some reason. And you hear it all the time. They say, oh, go in and kill it for one customer, and that customer is going to tell 5, and those 5 are going to tell another 5, which would be 25. Those 25 will tell 5 of their friends, and I'm going to get 125, and in a year's time, I'm going to have $10 million business just because I do good work, right? That's what all contractors tell other contractors. And if you think about it, it sounds crazy, right? Like when I say it to you, what you actually expect, if you don't do marketing, it's crazy. And I'm not saying you can't build a business that way, because you can, but expect for it to take a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. It takes a long time to build up a solid book of business and have a steady stream of leads if you plan to just do word of mouth. So one of the things that I always did right from the beginning, when I say marketing, what did I do? I had a good website, okay? And then I marketed that website. I didn't think, okay, just because I have a good website, people are gonna find it. No, I did Google ads, I did SEO, I did Facebook, and I spent a lot of money on marketing, but it brought me a big multiple, like a return on investment in my business. And because of that, we're able to get our name out way faster. And instead of it taking 10 or 20 years for me to have a $4 million a year company, it took me 5. So marketing speeds things up, gets you more leads, and it will make you feel way more comfortable that you're gonna have enough business to sustain you and your family and your employees as well. All right, moving on, we got mistake number 3, which is I valued people more than equipment. And let me explain what I mean by that. When I first started, I was cheap, and I thought that people were cheap. I was like, oh man, I only have to pay someone $22, $25 an hour if they're a really skilled person. This was back in 2018. Like for a super skilled concrete person, that's about what it costed me an hour. And then I would look at a piece of equipment and I was like, man, for a skid steer, I'm gonna have to pay like $1,200 or $1,500 a month just for the payment. And then I got gas, I got all that stuff. So when I first started, I made this huge mistake that I did not want payments because I thought I was being risk averse and I thought that I was saving money. But looking back, I realized that equipment is actually designed to make it so you need less people, or at minimum make your people more efficient. So one person in a skid steer can dig more than 5 people can per hour with shovels. And so when I first started, I'd go to job to job to job, and we would break out driveways by hand. We didn't even have a skid steer, or at first we didn't even have a jackhammer. We were literally sledgehammering driveways. And it sounds crazy looking back, but I know a lot of people that are contractors, they're really hesitant to buy good tools, buy good equipment. They're trying to save money. And I get it, when you first start a business, no one is gonna have endless amounts of money. But what I wanted to make sure I got across in this video is don't be afraid to have a good truck payment. Don't be afraid to have a piece of equipment like a skid steer payment. If you are going to use it often, like I'd say even at least 5 to 10 times a month, at the end of the day, that is gonna be way more cost efficient than hiring 2 or even 1 extra person that you continuously have to have on your payroll. So that is a huge mistake. Looking back, I think a big reason why I lost money in the first 2 years is I was just moving too slow. I wasn't getting jobs done fast enough. We were too inefficient, and a big part of that is because I thought that having more people and less equipment was better than the opposite, which is having more equipment and slightly less people. All right, the third thing that I would keep is what I call basic customer service. And when I say this, a lot of you guys know, because you will hear horror stories. You're gonna hear your customers and they're gonna say, man, I called 5 other contractors and you're the only one that called me back. I was always really, really good at very, very basic level of customer service. I'm not even saying anything crazy where like I got back to people right away or I answered my phone every single time. And right, we're business owners, we're busy and things happen. But something that I did that was good is every single time that someone called and left a voicemail, I always returned the call. And normally it was within an hour. And I know a lot of contractors, they think that they're really good at this thing, but when I have an experience, because I try to hire other contractors as subs for my concrete and landscaping business, I remember how bad contractors are at customer service. They don't answer their phone. They don't return voicemails. They take 2 days to return an email. Really basic level stuff. And if you want to get word of mouth, you want to get referrals, you want people to hire you when they are a lead and they're interviewing multiple contractors and they're getting multiple estimates, what's one of the easiest things you can do to stand apart? It's to have good customer service. It's so simple. Answer people's questions. Get back to them on time. Don't take forever. Don't send texts out that everything is misspelled and you sound like you're in second grade still. Like, come on, we're professionals. We own a business. We're trying to have a good impression on our customers. That's one of the things that I did that really helped propel us was I answered my phone. I had good grammar. I had good punctuation. I showed up on time. Very basic level things. If you can do that in your business, it's going to help a lot too. All right, number 4 for the mistake is I tried to be everything. And what do I mean by that? I know that when we're a business owner, right, you have to wear multiple hats. You have to be the estimator. You have to be the foreman or the project manager. You may or may not have to be the bookkeeper and the marketing specialist and the salesperson and everything. And when I first started, I made the huge mistake of not hiring out at least a couple really key pieces of business. For instance, I was doing my own marketing. Even though I knew how to do my marketing, I didn't really have time to do it super efficient. And another thing, I was trying to be my own bookkeeper. I thought, well, hey, I could save $300 to $400 a month. Why wouldn't I just do my own books? But instead, I was never an amazing bookkeeper. I was never an amazing marketing person. I was never an amazing multiple things, and I tried wearing all the hats. And then over time, what I really realized is, one, I thought that I was just saving the cost, but you have to realize that there's something that I call opportunity cost. Every single hour that you're spending doing your own website, doing your own books, doing your own this, you could have spent doing more estimates, making more sales, checking up on your guys, whatever it is, right? So just remember that it's not just adding expenses to your business by hiring bookkeepers and marketing people and all that, because the goal is that they do what you could do except way better. So you're gonna have better books, better marketing, better all of that stuff, and you can spend that extra time making more money. So if you use your time efficiently, you should not be wearing all the hats. At minimum, you should get rid of your bookkeeping and marketing, but potentially even based on the size of business that you want to be, maybe even offloading your sales. Hire a good foreman / project manager so you don't have to be babysitting your crews all the time. There's so many things you can do to offload responsibility, and that's one of the things that I really struggled with. I really didn't hire anyone to help me until 2.5 years, when in reality I should have done it sooner because we could have grown faster. I could have had more time to actually take a step back and make sure that I was profitable, which I never was. And at the end of the day, I was way too busy and way too chaotic to be a good business owner. The 4th thing that I have is specialized. And what do I mean by specialized? When I first started, I was really good at doing only work that I felt really comfortable with. And part of the reason that I was able to do this is because I was good at the marketing. So keep in mind, a lot of contractors, they think, oh man, I'm gonna start an electrical business. And then all of a sudden, if someone asks them to paint a wall, they're like, well, I'm not a painter, but I could paint that wall while I'm doing your electrical. Or, oh man, I don't really build decks, but I could probably figure it out how to build a deck. And all of a sudden, then you have a contractor and they are a master of none and they're good at everything, which in my opinion, one, it hurts your marketing, it hurts your sales because people aren't going to trust that you're the master at your craft. So it actually hurts your sales. And 2, when you're always doing different types of projects, you really lose out on efficiency. Because one of the things and one of the reasons why we were always good with this and being specialized is I knew that I had a concrete crew and all we did was concrete. It did not matter what someone else asked me, if they wanted mud jacking, if they wanted painting, if they wanted a pergola. I had really skilled tradesmen. I probably could have sold that stuff. But I knew that in order to be efficient, I was gonna have to have my guys doing the same thing every day. Because what happens when you do the same thing every day? You get good at it, you get fast. You don't have to think it in your head, okay, what's step 1 through 5? No, they knew it because we do it day in and day out. And keep in mind, it was easier for me to sell concrete jobs because my customer wasn't worried that I actually knew what I was doing. Because I was like, no, all I do is concrete. So if you have a driveway, like I do tons of driveways and I'm really, really good at it because I don't mess with anything else. This is like what we are dedicated to doing, and it made the customer feel more comfortable. So I was able to sell more what we were good at, and I didn't get wrapped up in too many headaches of doing things that we weren't comfortable with. Number 5 thing, and the last thing that I have on my mistakes, is being Mr. Nice Guy. And what do I mean by that? I was Mr. Nice Guy with my customers, and we kind of already talked about that. I would let them take advantage of me a little bit. Like for instance, if I was doing a big patio, and maybe instead of the patio being a 12 by 15, the customer would look at the form and say, oh man, I don't want a 12 by 15, I want a 12 by 17. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to make it clear that your customers are going to want changes, and you as the contractor are responsible for making their end project be exactly what they want. But my problem is like, oh man, that's only like 2 feet by 12 feet. It's only 24 square feet of concrete. I'm not going to charge you for that. And I thought that me being nice to them was going to come back to me in the long run. And it probably did a little bit in the form of referrals, but I did not realize all these added costs and all these added expenses and all these added things. And what you got to realize is when you start to let people take advantage of you, they won't stop. Like I used to answer my phone at all times. It doesn't matter if it's 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. Whenever someone called me, they knew that they'd get an answer. And so because I thought I was being nice, but then because I had no boundaries, people would always take advantage of that. People were texting me at crazy hours, calling me at crazy hours, asking us to do tons of stuff for free. And because they got used to that we would do whatever they wanted, they just basically got dominant and just completely took over, and we weren't making money because we were being too nice. So I was being too nice to my customers, but we were also being too nice to our employees. When you first start, you're like, man, I want to be such a good boss and I want to be buddy-buddy. And there's nothing wrong with being a good, friendly boss. In fact, you should be. But we were also being taken advantage of. Sometimes our employees wouldn't show up to work. And instead of us getting mad or potentially firing them, we would just say, oh, don't worry about it. And we would let them do whatever they wanted. And remember, people are just, think of it almost like a dog. If you let your dog get up on the couch and you don't make them get off, your dog is going to think, man, I love this couch. It's pretty dang nice. I'm not going to not get on the couch. And then all of a sudden they're going to do it more often and more often. And then all of a sudden they've built this crazy habit because you didn't put your foot down and say, no, I don't want dog hair on my couch. No offense if you like your dogs on your couch. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just an analogy. But you guys get what I'm saying, that it always starts out small, it snowballs, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and pretty soon it's unsavable. So do your employees and your customers a favor, set your guidelines, have standard operating hours, have a good contract, have a basic understanding of the agreement and your employees, and then stick to that. You don't have to be mean about it, but just stick to the agreement, make sure that the guidelines and the lines to not cross are very, very clear. And if you have to, you might have to cut ties with some customers and some employees, but that's something that I really wish I would have done way sooner. All right, the very last thing that we have in today's video is keeping two sides of the business separate and looking at them separate. And when I say two sides of the business, a lot of contractors don't really get this. And I was lucky because I got this right in the beginning and it helped us a ton. The two sides are, you have your production side. That's everything from like your crew and your building supplies and how you do jobs. You want to have a really good product and also be really efficient. The other side of the business is the often forgotten about side of the business, the marketing, the sales, the bookkeeping. And why is it forgotten? Because it's not fun, right? Like as contractors, you probably like building things and there's nothing wrong about that. But what you have to realize is you have two sides of the business. You have the production and the marketing and sales and the finance, etc. If you only have one side or the other, you will never succeed in the long run, ever. Like I don't care what people say. If you are completely negligent, you do no marketing, you suck at sales, you don't have good books, you may be able to skate by for a little bit. I was just talking to a contractor this week who had been in business for 34 years, but didn't ever keep good books. He always had okay cash until he didn't. And now what? He's going out of business. And why? Because he did not pay attention to the other side of the business. Or you could have the other side of the boat. Maybe you're really good at marketing, you're really good at sales, and you're okay with numbers, but you don't pay attention to the crew side. All of a sudden, you've got mistakes piling up. Your work quality sucks. You're getting bad reviews, and you're not being efficient. So really you need both sides of the business, and that's something that we did really good at from the very beginning, which is why we're able to grow so fast. So if you're just starting, just don't forget, even if you're not as good at one side or the other, that's okay, but never forget or lose sight of it or not pay attention to it just because you don't like it. That's all I got for today's video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm a ton. And the more that you like and subscribe to the channel, it will actually push this video to more contractors. And if I would have known this stuff at the very beginning of my business, it would have saved me hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So I wanna make sure that this video gets out to as much people as possible. So if you like it, help me, but also help the other contractors who need to see this. Share the love. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.